Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Josh Vogt, publisher of Personal Fitness Professional. In just a few minutes, our presenter today, Carol Ann, a health and fitness entrepreneur and Fit Tours head trainer and education team leader, will bring you today's webinar titled Nutrition Coaching Made Easy, Methods for One-on-One, Semi-Private, and Large Groups. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a couple housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded like normal and will be shared with all of you once the replay link is available, usually within the next 24 hours and probably even sooner. We hope to get that out yet this afternoon. At that time, we will also announce the 3 winners of the free Fit Tour Primary Nutrition Certification. And if you are attending this webinar live today, you are already entered to win that. Also, I'd like to encourage any questions you might have about today's presentation, and you can submit those during the webinar using the Q&A button in the navigation bar. And at the end of the presentation, we will open it up to Q&A with Carol Ann. All right, Carol Ann, take it away.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, well, welcome everybody. I just want to first of all thank you for attending this webinar, because I know that if you are a health and fitness professional, you're probably training clients in the morning, in the evening, and so your afternoons are very valuable to you. So thank you so much for coming and joining with me for this much needed information. So just to kind of get to know who is attending today, I have a little poll question, if Josh will throw it up on the screen here. Just kind of want to know who you guys are, who is attending today. So if you're a certified fitness professional, let us know. A certified nutritionist, registered dietitian, if you have a college degree in another field, or if you have no traditional or official education in nutrition at all. So just click all that apply there. And we just want to kind of know who is joining us today. Because we want to be able to speak to you, speak your language, and hopefully this information will resonate with you today. I know that when you get your nutrition certification, whether it is just a regular certification, or if you decide to get official education through a university, or you go and get your registered dietitian license, whatever the case may be, sometimes when you're getting a nutrition certification, you're asking yourself, okay, what is my next step? What do I do now? Do I go get a job? Do I put together a nutrition program? So, there's lots of different avenues. It could be exciting, but it could also be overwhelming as well. So hopefully this discussion today will kind of get some things turning in your mind, and hopefully helping you get going in the right direction on what is your next step. Okay, so Josh, what do we have here? Okay, so we have 82% of y'all are certified fitness professionals. We have 9% of you certified nutritionists. We have a registered dietitian. We have a couple registered dietitians. College degree in a completely different field other than nutrition. And then we have some that are no traditional official education in nutrition at all. So that's who we have here. Okay, thank you guys so much for sharing that with me. So I kind of have an idea of who all is here. So this conversation discussion that we have, if you have any questions throughout today's webinar, please feel free to throw it in the chat box in there. And then later on at the end, we'll look at that and hopefully we can answer those questions for you. But I really felt like this is really good information, nutrition coaching made easy. So if you're looking at, okay, should I do one-on-one coaching? Should I maybe look at doing semi-private or large groups? What does that look like? And how do I move forward if I'm interested in that? So if you have a certification, a license, formal education, great. You've got all of the information, you know everything. Now, how are you going to help somebody? So hopefully by the end of this, you will have a clear understanding of maybe what you kind of want to do. So today's objectives here: choose a nutrition coach path. So there's lots of paths that you can go down. So maybe we can zero that in and maybe you'll have a decision by the end. How do you structure a nutrition program? How do you format your nutrition content, or how do you come up with a curriculum? What would that look like? What about establishing fees? How much do you want to charge for your programming? And then also, it's always a good idea to work within your scope of practice. So what does that mean when we're talking about the realm of nutrition? So those are our objectives today. And so here we go. So first of all, let's talk about what is a nutrition coach. And a nutrition coach is a navigator through the perplexing world of food science and behavior change. And you, as a nutrition coach, you take on the role of an educator. And if you are a nutrition coach, you work with the general population to improve overall quality of life and facilitate the inclusion of healthy eating behaviors. So here's what a nutrition coach does not do. You do not diagnose, treat, or prescribe. You educate, you empower. That's you as a nutrition coach. So there's so much information out there. Anybody can get on Dr. Google and Google whatever it is that they need to know. So whether it's nutrition, an exercise program, if they're feeling certain symptoms, they go on and they self-diagnose, whatever the case may be. It's out there. The information is out there. But what a nutrition coach does, it helps that individual navigate through all of that. Essentially, you're a tour guide through all of that information. Why? Because you have the education behind you. You have the information, but also you are a coach. So here are some skills. You coach that individual. You can communicate with that individual. You help motivate that person. And then obviously it's really good to have nutrition science, and you have all of the information, but you are able to deliver that information to your client to where it is easily digestible, and then maybe they can put a plan into action. And so you help that individual navigate through all of that and get them where they want to go. So obviously they'll have goals that they want to set, and you're there to help them reach those goals. But what path should you take? Are you going to get a job as a nutrition coach? What are the opportunities as a nutrition coach? Are you going to be an entrepreneur and come up with your own programming and disseminate information and coach people that way? So there's tons of opportunities out there. You can be a weight management consultant. You can be a sports nutrition coach. You can go the corporate wellness route. And then there's also holistic nutrition coaching out there as well. So there's tons of different opportunities. And then, whatever speaks to you, if you like athletics and you like that route, then maybe you do want to go down that route of sports nutrition. If you are more of a holistic type of that speaks to you. So you're going to find what naturally speaks to you, and you'll find that path. And whatever you're passionate about, you can take whatever we're about to discuss today, and you can apply all the information to one of these paths that you choose and that speaks to you. So for the purpose of our discussion today, in terms of doing nutrition coaching for large groups, semi-private, or one-on-one, this is the definition that we are going to give. So large group nutrition coaching is coaching the principles of proper nutrition with a group of 6 or more people. And we'll talk a little bit about what is the maximum number that you want to go to when you're coaching large groups. And so I actually put a cap in our discussion today, 20 people at a cap for large group. Now, some of y'all are out there going, there's no way you can coach nutrition to 20 people all at one time. And you know what? You're probably right. So we're going to talk about what that looks like when you're coaching a large group between 6 and to 20 people. Then semi-private, the definition of semi-private nutrition coaching is coaching the principles of proper nutrition with a small group. And that small group is about 2 to 5 individuals. And then one-on-one nutrition coaching is obviously coaching nutrition, proper nutrition, with one client. So one-on-one. And we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each one of those. So Once you identify what your passion is and what speaks to you, whether it's holistic nutrition or sports nutrition, or maybe it's just the general population. If you work at a gym and you have opportunity for just a general population and that you really like speaking with those people or people that really need to lose a lot of weight. So weight management consultation. So whatever route you decide to go, you can choose that path and you can apply different types of coaching methods to that specific type of passion that you have. Now, let's talk about the structure of your nutrition program. So, this may look familiar to you, especially if you are a fitness professional. There are three key components to any nutrition program. And if you take this and apply it to how you're going to structure that, this may look familiar to you. It kind of is taken from your FIT principle: frequency, intensity, and time. So if you're familiar with the FIT principle, this kind of looks like that. So the three key components is, number one, the length of your program. So in other words, how many weeks are you going to have the program, or months, or even a year? So that's something that you can decide, your length of your program. And then the frequency of meetings. So how often are you going to meet with your clientele? Are you going to meet with that individual or that group one time a month, twice a month, one time a week, twice a week? What does that look like for you? And then also the duration of the session. Are you going to meet for an hour? Are you going to meet for 30 minutes, 45 minutes? So those three components all make up your overall nutrition programming. So what I've done is, in my experience of working with large groups, semi-private, and even one-on-one, many years of working nutrition coaching, and also just speaking to groups about various fitness topics in that, weight management programs, nutrition programs, fitness programs, I've come to learn that there is a sweet spot. And no matter what it is that you're teaching, there's always a sweet spot in terms of length of your program, the frequency of how often you're going to meet during the week, and the length of each session. So I've come up with the sweet spot, and it's based off of just years of experience of doing this. And hopefully you don't have to do the trial and error like I did, and you can go with this. Now, just keep in mind, this is not the be all end all. This is not, you have to follow what I'm telling you today, but maybe it's just a starting point for you. And then maybe, I really like Carol Ann presented, but you know what? I think I want to tweak it a little bit, and that's totally fine. But at least this gets your gears going. So when you're looking at large group nutrition coaching, I have found that 6 weeks is a sweet spot when you're coaching a large group. And remember, going back to large group, anywhere between 6 and 20 individuals. And the reason why I say 6 is because I have done the 12-week program, and I've also done the 8-week program. And when you have a large group, especially if it gets up to, to maybe 15 to 20 people, even with that length of time, fatigue starts to set in terms of, I have another meeting I have to attend. So 6 weeks of one time a week seems to be the sweet spot. So if you're meeting for 12 weeks and you're meeting once a week, people have lives, things come up. And when you're in a large group setting, it's kind of almost like you feel like, oh, she won't miss me, or, oh, he won't miss me during this meeting because there's so many of us. They won't miss me. And the fatigue starts to set in to where, okay, I missed this week, then maybe I can miss another week. So people start to, lives start to take over, and the fatigue starts to set into, there's another meeting. So 6 weeks tends to be the sweet spot to where people will adhere to that 6-week program. And about once a week is really all you need. And then about an hour to an hour and a half session for your large group. And I say that because the 1 hour mark, or even an hour and a half, Because when you have a large group coming in, of course, they start to get to know each other and they'll start to socialize. And that's the cool and the fun part about a large group setting, is that they start to meet other people and they start to get to know each other. Also, depending on how you run your large group nutrition coaching, you might even split them off into groups. And I have done that before as well, especially if it's 20 people attending, then maybe you get groups of 4 in your large group setting. And then they'll start to socialize with one another. And so that keeps each other accountable to where they'll want to attend each meeting, holding each other accountable. So they'll start to socialize. So the meeting may not get started right away. And then after the meeting, then they'll want to continue to socialize. And then also question times. If there's lots of questions at the end of the meeting, that takes up some time. So anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half. And I'm just giving you the structure here. We're going to get into a little bit more detail in the next couple of slides. But large group nutrition program, 6 weeks, once a week, an hour to an hour and a half. Then the semi-private nutrition coaching. What I have found to work best is that 12-week marker, that 3-month marker. And once again, you're going to have about 2 to 5 people. And normally it's going to be 2 to 5 people who already know each other, and that they put together a group of 2 to 5. And they're like, okay, we're going to hold each other accountable. We want to have a nutrition coach to walk us through what we need to do over the next 3 months. It could also be, let's say your passion is bodybuilding competitions or bikini or physique competitions. So that might be a nice group to work with. And 3 months when you're working with nutrition leading up to the competition is a sweet spot. And I'm just using this one group as an example. It could be any other group of people, but 2 to 5 people, 12 weeks, 3 months, because that's a really good opportunity to start to really see the results. You give them an opportunity to, and we'll talk about baseline and outcomes, to where you really are working with them to get those outcomes they're working with. Once again, once a week, and then 45 minutes, you can drop the time down because they're not as many people. And you're going to be giving them information, you're giving them homework to work on. So about 45 minutes is a good time frame for that 2 to 5 person group, semi-private. Then you have the one-on-one nutrition coaching. Now, this is really good. There's pros and cons to every group, right? So the pro for the one-on-one coaching is that you can make this very individualized for that person. So you can look at that one person and really dive into what their needs are. What do they need you for? What are they looking to accomplish? So this one-on-one nutrition coaching, you can really take your time with that individual because it's just you and them. You're holding them accountable to you. It's not like they can hide in a group of 20. They're there. You're making an appointment with them one-on-one. So you can work with them 3 months. If you have somebody that, let's just say, let's go back to that bikini bodybuilding competition, and they want to work with you one-on-one for 3 months. They don't have a group of people that are working on a specific goal. So they're working with you one-on-one for 3 months. Let's say you have an individual that is really wanting to lose weight. So it might take them 6 months to accomplish that. So that's going to be individualized, whether it's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, depending on what that person's goal is. And once again, this is all individualized. You can meet once a week, bi-monthly, and then you go bi-monthly to monthly. And so when you're looking at once a week, it could be, let's say an individual has hired you to work with them for 6 months. That's a long time. That's a good chunk of time. So let's say they're starting at ground zero and you want to start them off by meeting with them once a week because their level of knowledge is low and they really want to get a bunch of knowledge and they want to get some skills under their belt. So they really need you at the beginning once a week to hold them accountable. But let's say after 3 months, they've got the basics. They really understand the basics and they're making progress. So now maybe I don't need to meet with you once a week. Now I need to maybe meet with you once every other week to check in with you. We've got the baseline information. We've got really good knowledge. And now we're just starting to handle this on our own, because eventually you want to empower them, right? You're not going to be with them forever unless they're really rich and they just want you there all the time and they're spending the money to invest in and having you around all the time. But eventually you want to empower them to be able to make these decisions on their own. So you may not have to meet with them every week, but maybe every other week. And then let's say you're meeting 12 months. So every other week, and then it may turn into the last 3 months of meeting with them. They just check in with you once a month. And that could be very fluid as well. Let's say they've plateaued and they're not making progress, or maybe they're going backwards. And so then maybe you need to pick up the pace and meet with them more often. So those are just options, but at least that gives you an idea of how often you're going to be working with somebody one-to-one. Then you can drop that time down to 30 minutes, 30 minutes one-on-one. Now, if you want to, take that out to about 45 minutes, that's good. But 30 minutes talking about only nutrition is a good amount of time, because it's quality information that you're going to work with them on for about 30 minutes, because you've got that one-on-one time. And in my experience, that seems to be another sweet spot for the one-on-one. So large group, semi-private, one-on-one, that gives you the structure of your nutrition program. Now, once again, you can kind of play around with that, but I have found with my years of experience of working with groups, large groups, semi-private, one-on-one, these are really good starting places to be right here. Then let's talk about formatting your nutrition content and your curriculum. So what is it that within these sessions, what are you going to talk about? What is it that that they need to know in order to help them be successful? So when you're meeting with large groups, going back to the 6-week scenario, you have 6 1-hour sessions that you're going to be educating them on. So your 1-hour session is going to be made up of measurements or baseline information. And then at the end, you're going to have an outcome. So you have 6 weeks, beginning and end, to work with these people. And it's always great at the first session to have some sort of measurement or baseline for your group. And then that also gives them reason to adhere to that 6-week program, because at the end of the 6 weeks, then they're going to see where they've progressed and their outcome. So some ideas that you can throw out, that I can throw out there for large groups, especially if you think you have 20 people that are coming to this 6-week nutrition boot camp, if you will. An easy way that, an easy measurement that you can do is to do a handheld bioelectrical impedance measurement. Now, in terms of like the validity of measurements and that, it's very non-invasive, but it gives them at least a number. And if you're using a handheld bioelectrical impedance measurement test to test body fat composition, then you can use that, and then they can have their body fat percentage at the beginning of the program, and within 6 weeks be at the end of the program. Now, mind you, 6 weeks is not a huge amount of time to make drastic changes, right? So you may not want to use the bioelectrical impedance test. You might want to use a good old-fashioned scale. But then again, maybe you don't want to make your 6-week nutrition program all about weight management either. So you can determine what that baseline information is. It could be write everything down that you ate today. And then at the end of the 6-week program, were you able to eliminate one bad habit, if you will? Or were you able to, let's say your water intake was nothing at the beginning of the program. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, now I'm drinking 64 ounces of water. Whatever that is for you and you feel comfortable in that baseline and in that outcome, do something. That way it keeps your people engaged and it gives them a goal. Then once a week, you're going to have an educational topic of the week. It could be, we're going to talk about macronutrients one week. So you're going to educate your people on carbohydrates, fats, proteins one week. And then the next week, you're going to talk about maybe making better choices in terms of, what do you do when you go out to eat to a restaurant? It could be, that could be your educational topic of the week. So how do I manage going out to eat? So that is something that you can create from all of your education that you received as getting a certified nutrition coach. Then you can create your curriculum. Once a week, pick a topic, and then you're going to talk about that topic, have question answers at the end. And then also you always want to incorporate food journaling. Food journaling is going to be the tool that's going to make your people the most successful. So food journaling is going to be really, very important. So that's very simple. Large group nutrition coaching, beginning, end, 6 weeks, have a topic to talk about every week, and then check in with their food journaling. Write everything down that they're eating and just kind of go over it. And if you feel comfortable and if they feel comfortable in sharing, that could be another component of your session for that day. Semi-private nutrition coaching. Once again, you want to have some sort of baseline and then outcome. Again, you have to make that decision on how you want to run your program. If it's going to be about weight loss, then maybe you want to make it about the weight on the scale. If you're making it about body composition, then maybe you're going to want to measure body fat composition. If your group decides that their goal is just to make better choices, then the food journaling is going to be a great baseline for your group. So make that decision on what your baseline is going to be, and then the outcome, the goal. Again, you're going to pick an education topic of the week, and you're going to have 45 minutes to talk about, maybe 15 minutes of what that educational topic is. Okay, this week we are going to focus on drinking more water, and here's all the benefits of being hydrated. Having more water in your overall diet. It's going to help speed up your metabolism. It's going to make you feel fuller longer, just as an example. So pick an education topic of the week. Food journaling, once again, journal, so that they can see what their behaviors are and see if you can help make any corrections in that. For your semi-private group, you can take them on a grocery shopping tour. This could be part of your curriculum, part of your content. Take them to the grocery store, teach them how to shop, teach them about how to read labels on the packages, just as some ideas. You could also have a cooking segment. One of your sessions could be, let's say you have a friend who's a chef and they're a healthy chef and they create healthy meals. You can invite that chef to come in to teach. This chef is going to teach us how to cook healthy. What are some of the things that we can be doing to make our meals more healthy? So just some ideas there. You can get a little more detailed with your semi-private nutrition coaching. Then on your one-on-one in terms of curriculum, again, measurement, your baseline, whatever that is you decide you want to do. And then you're going to have your outcomes. Hopefully you are going to have, now one-on-one, you're going to have a beginning and an end, but that end is kind of like, they might want to continue to work with you. So that might be fluid, but once again, you always start with a baseline and then you're going to have an outcome. Or with this one, because one-on-one nutrition could extend over a year's time, then you could have baby steps. You could have mile markers that you're checking in. So those could be baby outcomes to a major outcome. Once again, you're going to, at the beginning of the program, let's say you're meeting with them 12 months. You're going to want to educate them on label reading, carbs, protein, all their macronutrients. Then you might want to dig into the micronutrients and their vitamins, their minerals. You might want to get into that a little bit and teach them about that. Food journaling, once again, is going to really determine how successful they're going to be. You could go to their house if they feel comfortable with you coming to the house and go through their pantry. Show them, okay, we're just going to do an assessment of your pantry and we're going to clean out all of the things that maybe aren't really great for you. That could be something that you could do. You're getting a little bit more individualized that way. Grocery shopping tour, cooking chef. So once again, it's individualized attention on what their specific needs are. So you can go a little deeper on that one-on-one. So just some ideas and how you kind of navigate the education when you're working with large, semi-private, and one-on-one. Now, let's talk about, that's all great. I have my certification and I have all this great information, and I could be doing this all on my own. So you could be that person that decides, I don't really like the whole, now personally, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I like having my own destiny and making programs and creating partnerships with gyms and organizations to where I can come in and speak to groups or start a program at a company or an organization. But I do understand that that really terrifies a lot of people to be more of that entrepreneur and in control of your own destiny. And that's totally fine. What I did here is, you know, we have passion, and I think that's kind of the downfall of our industry, because people know that as a health and fitness professional, you're very passionate about what you do and you want to help people. But sometimes we kind of forgo in the money aspect of it because we are so passionate about it. But just keep in mind, it is a business and you are a professional, and you should be rewarded for that. You should be compensated for your skills, because it is a skill and you bring a lot to the table. So if you are looking at, you know, what are my opportunities financially? Here's an earning potential. So I just did a little quick Indeed.com search, and I put in there nutrition coaching, and I literally did this today. So I put in nutrition coaching, and this is what came up, and these are the job opportunities right now. So the first one is a health coach for holistic women's health and pregnancy coaching. This did come up in nutrition coaching because part of that is also nutrition. The earnings for that is $25 to $35 an hour. Another one that came up was health technician, and specifically nutrition educator. This is with the U.S. Army training. So their salary ranged from $44,000 to $58,000 a year. A health educator, it also encompassed some nutrition as well, $41,000 to $52,000 a year. And then an integrative nutrition health coach, $17 to $27 an hour. And then manager or nutrition coaching, this is with Hologram Sciences, $74,000 to $94,000. So you guys get on it. If anything looks good to you, it's on Indeed.com, so you can go and check it out and apply right now. So I'm from Georgia. That's where I live. So I think the first three of these, or maybe the first two, are Georgia. And then a couple of them, one of them is in Clearwater, Florida. So if you want to move to Florida, an opportunity is there. And then I just kind of did like a United States search just to see what was out there. But I just picked just the top 5 that just like jumped out at me. And so this is kind of the opportunity that's out there right now. Now, if you're a serial entrepreneur like me, I love working numbers. So here is, like, if you were to structure your fee structure here, of course, these numbers are going to be market driven. It depends on where you live in the country, and like if you're in a metropolitan area, if you're out in the rural area. So it just really depends on where you live. But here is a good average. This is, you guys, I live in Bishop, Georgia. I live in the middle of nowhere, Georgia. I'm outside of Athens, which is UGA, University of Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta. So we're a big college town, and this is about what we can charge here in this area. So this is based off of my area, but again, you can kind of take this and go, you know what, that looks about right for my area. So what I did was I broke down the opportunity of what it would look like if you were to charge for one-on-one training, semi-private, large group. You could focus on one, like if you really like that one-on-one aspect, that's great. If you like semi-private, large group, that's, you can take this, you can do a hybrid, you could do several of these, but here's revenue potential if this is something that you wanted to pursue. So for example, one-on-one, these numbers here at the very top per session, let's just say you were to do a one-off with these. So one-on-one, $85 an hour. Semi-private, you would have 2 to 5 people. If you just met with that small private, semi-private group one time, $50. Large group, if you met with a large group of people just one time, let's say a company asked you to come in and speak to a group of 20 people, you could charge $30 per person for that session. So this is per session. So when you go down, it says, well, per person, per session. Then if you were to go down to this second table, what I did was I translated that per session and what that would mean for the program. So for example, that left-hand column is for one session. So that one-on-one obviously is just $85. For semi-private, if you charge $50 for that one-off and you had 2 people, that's $100. If you had 5 people, that's $250 for a 45-minute session. Then a large group, anywhere between 6 to 20. If you got invited to talk to a company and you charge $30 per person and you had 6 people, it's $180 all the way up to $600. So hopefully you can see my thought process to see what you could charge and then how much money that would mean revenue wise. Then up at the top, per person, you've got the 6 weeks. Now, I talked about how 6 weeks for one-on-one would not really probably do anything for them. Semi-private, again, 6 weeks, you could do 6 weeks, but I really like that 3-month sweet spot for a semi-private group. And then for a large group, a 6-week program for a large group would be $229 per person. And then if you went down to the program, once again, not really applicable for one-on-one semi-private, but if you did a 6-week boot camp type of program for a large group, if you had 20 people in a large group and you charged $30, well, $220, if you charged $229 for that 6-week program per person and you had 20 people sign up, that's $4,500, $4,580. That's pretty exciting when you think about you're only working 1 hour a week for 6 weeks, right? So the earning potential looks pretty good. And then if you go up here to the top table, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, so like $85 an hour one-off. Let's just say somebody wanted to hire you for, this happens to me a lot. I get people that just will hire me for 1 hour and I sit down with them, not even an hour, it could be 30 to 45 minutes one-on-one. I sit down with them, I look at what they're eating, and they just want to know, hey, where can I tweak this? What can I, and just a one-off, 85. So if they then commit for 3 months, then you can drop that price down to $75 a session. Mind you, this is 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes, not an hour. I keep saying an hour. I don't mean that. 30 minutes. And then the more time they commit, the more you can drop your price down per session. So that's how you can read that at the top. And then, so if you go down per program, obviously the one-on-one, that figure is going to be the same. Then when you go to semi-private, look at the top chart here. If you have a semi-private group that commits to 3 months, you can drop that price down per session from 50 to 45. And so for 3 months, what is that? If you met once a week, that's 12 sessions. So if you multiplied 45 times 12, that's 540. Now, if you're not a math person, you can go away later, take a snapshot of this, a screenshot, and then maybe you can figure out the math later. But if you were to then charge $540 between 2 to 5 people, minimum 1080, up to $2,700 per, for 3 months per program. So, and then just do the math, expand that out for 6 months, 12 months, that's per individual. And then if you went down to the second table, that is how much money, if you maxed out your group, that's how much money you can make in that time frame per group. So you could fill up your books if you wanted to do large. Let's just say you stuck with large group and you did 6 weeks. You can make some really good bank there. And you want to keep in mind that you're trading time for money, right? So if you only focus on one-on-one, you have only so many hours during the day that you can commit to one person at a time. But if you get into your large group, you've got so many more people, less time, that you're trading time for money. Now, in terms of outcomes with large groups, you may not be as successful with your outcomes than you were with one-on-one. So there is some trade-off, right? So you just got to kind of look at that and see, what it is that you want to accomplish as a professional. So I like looking at those numbers. I like looking at what the possibility could be when I'm looking at my earning potential. So that gets to be super exciting. Once again, that's for the entrepreneur. Some people are terrified by this, but other people, they want that job security. They like knowing that they have a place to go every single day, 9 to 5. Here's my salary. Here are my benefits. And that's great. That's great too. Fantastic. All right, so I would be remiss if I did not talk about scope of practice, because this is really, really important. So what is scope of practice? Because we talk a lot about that, especially when you get into nutrition, because the rules are a little different when you talk about nutrition than when you talk about fitness, right? So as a personal trainer, we still have a scope of practice. We still have ethics that we want to follow, but nutrition is very, very specific. So the definition of scope of practice is the actions, procedures, and processes that a professional is allowed to undertake in keeping with the terms of the professional's license or credential. Now, we know as a nutrition coach, it is not a license, it's more of a certification. But this is as a fitness professional going into nutrition coaching, and if you have a nutrition certification, you should not be creating or prescribing specific meal plans. Now, I do know that this happens, okay? And but it's more of, if you are a nutritionist or a registered dietitian, this is more in that lane. And once again, remember, we talked about we never want to diagnose or treat or manage a specific condition with nutrition. That is not our job. That is outside of our scope of practice. So we can't really prescribe specific meal plans. That is left up to the nutritionist, a certified nutritionist. We don't want to do any nutritional counseling, education, or advice aimed to prevent, treat, or cure a disease or condition, or other acts that may be perceived as medical nutrition therapy. So we need to stay out of that lane. That's not our lane. We want to kind of stay away from recommending, prescribing, selling, or supplying nutritional supplements to clients. Now, I know that there are tons of supplement companies out there that are direct sales supplement companies, and that is a whole nother category, right? So then you're under that umbrella of that company, and that is outside the scope of this workshop today or this webinar today. And then also, Finally, we want to make sure that we do not promote or identify ourselves as a nutritionist or a dietitian, because those are other professional lanes that we want to stay out of when you're talking about being a nutrition coach. But here are the great things that we can do in terms of our scope of practice: education, education, education. So principles of healthy nutrition and food preparation. We can talk about that. Food to be included in a balanced daily diet. We can talk about that. Information about essential nutrients contained in foods or supplements needed by the body. Our bodies need carbohydrates, proteins, fats. These are all essential nutrients, our micronutrients. What does vitamin C do in the body? You're not prescribing vitamin C to a client, but you're educating them on what vitamin C does in the body and the benefits of vitamin C. Actions of nutrients on the body, just what I just said, micro or macronutrients, and what do they do in the body, and how does the body benefit from having those? So those are all the things that we can do. Now, I love this map. This information is provided by the American Nutrition Association. Here is the website right here. So take a screenshot of this. This is going to be very general information, but this map tells you what you can, well, generally speaking, but if you go to the website, it will give you more specifics, but it tells you what you can and cannot do in your state. So it's very state driven in terms of what you can do in terms of nutrition coaching. So for example, in Orange, so I live in Georgia, Georgia is orange, and it is illegal to perform individualized nutrition counseling unless licensed or exempt. Effectively, only registered dietitians are eligible for licensure. So what does that mean, and how am I able to do nutrition coaching in the state of Georgia? So as an example, what I did was I wrote to the Secretary of State of Georgia stating what I wanted to do in terms of nutrition coaching. I gave her, the Secretary of State, my credentials and my certifications. I have a master's degree in exercise science and health promotion. And so with my credentials and my certifications, I was able to be exempt from this, meaning they gave me the green light and they said, yes, you can do what it is that you propose that you would like to do in terms of nutrition coaching. So that is an example of what being exempt would mean. So that, you could do the same thing in your state, but go to that website, click on your state, or there's a drop down menu where you can select your state and find out what you can and cannot do in terms of nutrition coaching. So check that out. So here is the importance of a nutrition coach certification. There are a lot of fitness professionals that are out there with no official certification or education, but it's a lot of self-research, which that's great. But what you're putting yourself at risk, you're exposing yourself and you're exposing your client. So you just want to make sure that it is important for you to have a certification. And what that does is that puts your mind at ease that, yes, I have this credential behind my name and I actually know what I'm talking about. And I have credentials behind my name to prove that I understand food science or nutrition science. I understand how to educate my client and the information that I'm giving, how to motivate them, how to get this certain behavior that I want to get out of my client so that they can achieve their goals. Also, the client has more trust in you if you have a nutrition certification. Now, I will say this as a side note disclaimer. And I know that I've talked to other health and fitness professionals as well. When you are training people, or even if you're acting as a nutrition coach, I can maybe count on one hand, if that, if somebody ever asked me what my certification was in, or what my education was in, or what my degree is in. It's funny how that is in our industry. But people look at you and they go, I want to be you. I want to look like you. Tell me what you do. And that's good enough for them. But that's just not the way it goes these days. I feel like our industry has come a long way in terms of education. I mean, you're on this webinar because of education. Every time we turn around, there's another piece of continuing education out there. So I feel like we are the most highly educated profession out there, which is a great thing. So it puts more trust in you. It makes you more marketable and enables you to charge a premium if you're certified. It provides you structure to follow when giving the client guidance. So if whatever certification you go through, hopefully they've given you a structure that you can follow, you can plug and play. They've given you something that you can implement right away. The process of achieving this credential helps you as the professional improve communication and coaching skills. So hopefully in your certification, you are taught on how to coach. And then adding nutrition will increase the client's chances of meeting health and fitness goals. So if you're a health and fitness professional out there and the only thing that you're doing right now are exercise programs for your clients, but yet you want to dive into the nutrition component, then your client is more apt to achieve their goals when you add that nutrition component in there. So tool yourself, get certified. So with that being said, we have a certification through FitTour. And so we understand that there are lots of certifications out there, lots of great programming. So why should you choose FitTour over other certifications? And it may not be that you're choosing us over another one. Maybe you would like to add us to already the roster of education that you already have. But just so you know, our certification, we have a basic nutrition, a primary certification, and an advanced certification. And here is the book right here. You get both the primary and the advanced, so it's 2 in 1. And look at all that. Look at all that information. We're super proud about this certification because it is high quality. It is science-based education. Everything that is in here is based on science. It was also reviewed and approved by a registered dietitian. So you can feel confident in the information that you're getting has been reviewed and approved by a registered dietitian. It's solid. But one of the things that we really pride ourselves on at FitTour is that we want to make sure that we're accessible and convenient for all people. That is why our certification is online. You can take it, you could go through the program at your own pace. You can take the exam in the privacy of your own home. So it's a lot of great information and it's accessible and it's convenient. It's also affordable. We understand that you as a health and fitness professional, you're very passionate about what you do, and it's very expensive a lot of times to invest in your education, but we're very, very affordable, and you get a quick return on your investment. You can make back, once you invest in this certification, in your first program, you will make back your money. Even with one client, you will make back your money. So we are very excited to be able to offer that, because originally when FitTour came out on the scene, we were designed to really appeal to the grassroots and small town professional. When we started out, I don't know, back in the 80s, we've been around forever, since the 80s. When we started off, we went grassroots. That's why our name is called FitTour. We took fitness professional on tour. We provided CEC education out to the grassroots. I was even involved in this. This is when Pilates first came out on the scene. I literally went on tour for 6 weeks straight in the Southeast, 6 weeks straight in the Northeast, 6 weeks straight in the Midwest, literally drove from city to city to city, providing the same CEC workshop in those cities because it was not accessible to now. The times have changed because we're all online now. So it's very easy now to get the education. But back then we hit the road. And so we still have that mindset. We still have that small town professional in mind when we're giving the information. It's still high quality, it's accessible, affordable. And so with that being said, I hope that you've enjoyed our talk today, our discussion. Maybe you have some questions out there that I can answer. If I don't know the answer, then I could possibly look it up for you, get back with you. And if you do have any other questions beyond today's webinar, here is my email, carolann@fittour.com. My website is on there. And I'm just happy to be here and just provide any help, assistance that I can. Hopefully you took a little nugget with you. You got your gears turning. You may not like everything that you saw today, but maybe you're like, okay, I like that bit, and maybe I can apply it to what I'm already doing. So you guys, thank you so much. Josh, do you want to come back and join us and see if we have any questions out there?
Yes, thanks, Carol Ann. Let's start out here with just going through some of these. Got a question on group coaching. What platform do you recommend using for group nutrition coaching if you do use one? Zoom, Facebook, is there one that you like better than the other?
So that is a really good question, because in my mind, I know everybody is thinking Zoom online right now. Honestly, when I was bringing forward this information, I was thinking group at a gym. I know that's my experience of when I'm teaching groups at a gym. But I will have to say, I like Zoom. Zoom is my favorite go-to. It's easy to navigate. I have done training on Zoom. Zoom is my go-to, and I really like that platform. It's inexpensive. It's very easy to navigate. If you needed to share your screen, if you needed to provide information and go, hey, I just read this article today, and you can pull it up on the screen. I love Zoom. So Zoom is a great platform.
Okay, great. This is kind of a two-part question. First off, what is the best way to measure and establish a baseline? And then can you recommend a bioimpedance tool?
Okay, so in my group, and let's just go with the large group. In my large group, I did have around 20 people, and it was live. It was live. So let me try to come up with like a live scenario and then a Zoom scenario, because that is a really good question in terms of Zoom, or I'm sorry, digital or virtual. So in my live scenario, what I did was my first session is that I had these little papers that I passed out. We all determined what their BMR was. So it was a nice little exercise to determine somebody's basal metabolic rate. And that was a good baseline that we determined. So it didn't involve any measuring of people. It was just a BMR. And then another group, I did measure their bioelectrical impedance. So I have a scale. So if you have a scale with a bioelectrical impedance measurement on there, then you can get their weight, and then you can get their body composition. Also, the handheld, you can get any of these on Amazon, by the way. The handheld bioelectrical impedance is very innovative. You can just hold on with your hands. And I like that as well. It's very quick. But with 20 people, I was able to do it. It was just kind of like stations. I had team assistants that would help me. I actually had interns that helped me guide people through. Like one station was you get weight, another station was you get your bioelectrical impedance measurement, and another station was we're going to determine your BMR. So it was kind of a fun way to interact, and we kind of did stations. So that was one way that I handled that. With a virtual, obviously they'll all have to kind of be on the honor system. With that, you can have them weigh themselves. You can have them, if they have a bioelectrical impedance on their scale, they can do that. But then they can, this would be another opportunity to say, hey, you guys, we're going to calculate your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And this is how you do it. So this is an educational moment to get that baseline information. And then you can play around with how you can manipulate your caloric intake and your expenditure and what that means for each person in the group. That could be a teaching moment.
Okay, thank you. In the presentation, you talked about a specific meal plan. Could you go into maybe more what a specific meal plan means?
Yes, and thank you for that question. So that would mean that you put together a Sunday through Saturday meal plan. Breakfast, this is what you eat. Snack, this is what you eat. Lunch, this is what you eat. So you are literally spelling out exactly what they're eating. Although looking from the outside in, that doesn't seem like a bad thing, because how bad can you be if you're saying, okay, for breakfast, you're going to eat oatmeal. And then you're going to have bananas with that. And then for a snack, you're going to have apples and peanut butter. But that's when you're really measuring, and you're going to have, and then you give them very specifics of, you're going to have 4 ounces of chicken, and you're going to have a cup of broccoli, and you're going to have, now I know that this is done in the bodybuilding world. Let's say somebody's, competing and they have a nutrition coach that spells everything out for them. But you just want to be careful. You want to be careful because you might be treading over that line of scope of practice. And then that's also when you want to look into your state to see if that is allowed in your state. So hopefully that answered that question. So specific means really specific, giving out them, this is how many calories you're taking in for the day. This is what you're eating. This is how many calories each of these have. And these are the serving sizes for each of it. And you're giving them real specifics.
Okay, thank you. Next one, as just a certified fitness pro, am I allowed to talk about herbs and spices and also encourage my clients to add them to their meals?
Yeah. If you know about herbs and spices and you've done your research on that, and you're providing information, you can also give your sources, where you got your information on that, and you're educating your client about herbs and spices, because we say that all the time. We say, instead of adding sodium, always add some spices in there, but it's just keep in mind, it's very general, very general. You don't, like going back to that specific, as long as you're not getting too specific, but I feel like herbs and spices are fine. Yes.
Great, thank you. And kind of going along with that, what about working with an executive chef? I assume it's the same thing as long as.
Yeah. So when you're working with a chef, you're giving them ideas like, for example, hey, when you're cooking, and mind you, disclaimer, I know nothing about cooking. So, you could say something like, hey, the chef could say, hey, instead of using corn oil, or instead of using vegetable oil, we're going to use olive oil instead. It's a healthier option to, when you're cooking, it's a healthier option to use this over this. Or, when you're preparing your chicken, make sure you remove all the skin. So if you have a chef that you're working with and you're talking about preparing food, what are the healthy ways to prepare food that's great. I hope I answered that question, because I know nothing about cooking.
Thanks, Carol Ann. This one might be a little bit more legal based, but I'm going to ask it. This person also lives in Georgia. They currently hold 3 nutrition certs, and they're working on their Institute for Integrative Nutrition. They're disappointed that they're now reading they can't move in the direction they want to move for their business unless they become an RD. Is there any way around that, because they have a passion for education on holistic nutrition?
Yes. All right, go Georgia. Okay, so that's what I did. I wrote the Secretary of State stated exactly what I want. I mean, I literally called the office and found out I need the email address. I need to find out how I can get around this, kind of these restrictions, so to speak. And so that's what I did. Look into read, because I'm not familiar exactly what certification you have, or what your credentials are exactly, but I would say look into this. And of course, this was years ago when I did this, so things may have changed. So look into what is required in order to teach nutrition. But yeah, Georgia is pretty strict. You're right about that. So maybe that is the route you take. Get exempt, find out what you have to do to get exempt these days. But what I did was I sent an email, I laid it out, here are my credentials, and I got an exemption. So maybe that's the route you go.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is just a recommendation from someone. They said that state map would be a great reference to add to the nutrition coaching certification manual.
Thank you. Yeah, but you know what? That's why you come here to the webinar, to get that little information, right? We got to keep you coming back for more. So we gave you everything. Then what do I do?
Excellent point. And everyone,
But
yes.
also, though, you know what, though? Honestly, though, it could change. It could change. So, and then, so if I put it in the manual, what if it changed tomorrow? But let me also say this, that we will be updating this manual, because every 5 years, the the guidelines for American eating, I'm sorry, I'm losing my words, but they are updated every 5 years. And so I was actually approached to be on the committee to write those guidelines that we follow as health and fitness professionals. They change them every 5 years. And so that's good to know, because I tell you, they're really understanding that there is so much out there that people are into, that, what we call trendy diets. We can't deny that people are following them and they're getting results. And so we need to take a look at that and find out, okay, let's keep an open mind about it. What is it that they're doing, and why are they getting results? Is that good? I know I kind of expanded a little bit on that question, but just keep in mind that it's changed every 5 years. So we'll keep that updated too.
Okay, great. I think we're going to wrap that up. There's a few other questions, but I think we can answer those offline as well if we need to. But I think we need to allow people to get back at it. It's been well over an hour. And again, Carol Ann, I want to thank you for the great educational and informative presentation. And thank you everyone for joining the webinar today and for all your questions. We hope you learned a lot of valuable information that can help you make nutrition coaching easy for you. Again, this webinar is recorded, so you will be able to see the slides. I know there's a couple questions about that, and we will try to get that out actually yet this afternoon, and we will also announce the 3 winners at that time as well.